Very glad to have all of you back for the final session of the summit. And I'm really looking forward, Fausto, to this one. You gave me as a host the most difficult task of the event up till now. So the title is AI Anthropomorphism. I made it. So, this is not an easy word. Past dangers and strategies mitigating cognitive bias. We had a small chat already, first night even, right? Yesterday, I think, quick chat. And so from what I've already peeked at, I'm really, really excited what you will show us. So stage is yours and enjoy.
All right. Am I good to turn? Yeah, that seems right. So my name is Fausto Albers. I'm the co-founder of a growing community of Gen AI nerds back in Amsterdam. We come together once a month, ironically in person. And we do this so that we mix the people that can express themselves very well with the people that are able to build it, and that results in some exciting things. I'm also a backend developer. I'm a co-founder of a Gen AI startup called Waitler. I have a restaurant, a cocktail bar, and 3 young kids. So I do a lot, which is partly why I went into AI. Not only is it the most fascinating development of our age, it's also something that can boost productivity. And after 2 years with working with Gen AI, does it boost productivity? Well, yes and no. I still work the same ridiculous hours, but I get a lot more done. It's like, I like to draw the analogy of, before I was just playing an instrument, and now I'm playing the whole orchestra, which is, of course, called a synchio for strings, which is an inside joke for developers. So I understand it's late afternoon, and everybody's tired, and we had 2 days filled with information, but I'll promise you a little surprise at the end of my talk. So keep your heads up for now, okay? Before we kick off, I'd like to express my gratitude of being able to stand here in front of all of you, experts in the field of conversational AI, which I think is a fascinating field. And I mean, you're right in the money. With all that happens at the moment, does anybody know what's going to happen? No, of course not. But we do know that knowledge is not embedded in a vacuum. And the more you know, the better you will be able to adapt to change. And change is coming, my dear friends. So I've spent 3 wonderful days here. Thank you for that. Let's kick it off. I'd like to try to contribute a little bit to all of that knowledge by sharing some of the perspectives and challenges that me and my teams had in developing Gen AI applications over the last few years. In particular, we touched upon anthropomorphization of AI and the role of theory of mind. I have a background in social science, so I think that's a fascinating thing in this industry. I'll also give a high-level overview of how to build such a chatbot. And at the end of my talk, I'll do a live demo. As you all know of live demos, that's probably not going to go well. I mean, about 80% of my live demos in the past went horribly wrong, and 20% even worse. So let's see. All right. So anthropomorphism, to refresh the brain, is the tendency to assign human qualities to non-human entities like nature, things, or animals. It is a form of metaphorical thinking that enables us to draw comparisons between ourselves and the world around us. And this tendency doesn't only play out in the way we perceive things, but also in the way we build things. We build, for example, because we needed a tangible metaphor for our perception of time, which is linear, we made clocks. We build cars because we like to go from A to B in a physical space. And in computer science, we introduced time sharing, for example, because that mimics our way that we learn to communicate, which goes back and forth. Now, what I wanted you to what I want you to take from this is that we cannot see technology as something that is entirely outside of ourselves. It is something that we have created as a mirror image of ourselves. Evolution shaped our perception of our social and internal worlds in a way that is useful, but not always true. Take it not from me, but from, as my sons would say, the goat himself. Look that up if you want to talk to teenagers. Reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one. Einstein, of course. How is this relevant for us, developers of tech that will be tomorrow? Well, we have a responsibility and a need to understand that deception and perception are really two sides of the same coin. Yes, we can be manipulated through technology, through media and design, but we also deliberately seek this deception in the form of stories, cinema, religion, and even the feeling of belonging to a group of like-minded people. So, interfaces in design are a paradoxical layer between computers and humans. So you all know, like the UX UI, natural language is an interface, voice is an interface. So they kind of serve two things. At one end, a good UX designer knows that the design will empower the user. It will let the user get what it wants from the technology. But at the same time, it's also a curtain around endless complexity, mathematical complexity, computational complexity, that we are not evolved to understand, to really see. So a good interface both empowers the user and it also deceives the user a little bit. And so while it does make sense in this whole discussion about AI and computing to talk, and you hear it a lot about the raw computing power, about how many parameters has been trained on, or like whatever. In the context of social interaction between humans and computers, it's also really important not to only understand what the computer can do, but mostly what effect will it have on the user? Like, how does the user perceive this? And, well, it's actually one of my favorite sociological theorems from Thomas and Thomas, and it goes, if man defines situations as real, they are real in their consequences. Which brings us to the theory of mind. Theory of mind is that understanding that others have thoughts that may be different from yours, goals, intentions, and such. You can see it when we are friends, then we share a world. We need, as they say, like one word. Now, I don't want to bust the magic here about friendship, but for this to work, theoretically, you don't actually need this to be a two-way street. Even if it's just the illusion that the other entity has theory of mind and perceives theory of mind in you, you will probably define it as real. So whether real or not, and I want to touch upon this point because I think actually Micah said this to me I don't remember, but it was that while we anthropomorphize computers and AI more and more, at the same time, the sad truth is that we also dehumanize other humans. And when you look what happens there, like in every war, it starts with dehumanizing the other, and that basically comes down to not understanding the other. So to make my point, back to tech, if we want to get the best out of technology, we need it to be recognizable. We need to feel understood. How do we do that? To understand how we can use this in development, we can look at how our children learn theory of mind. Up to an age of like 3 to 4, they don't have it. And as you all know, it's pretty hard to communicate with someone who doesn't have theory of mind. It's also like this kind of idea was the basis of one of my projects, Waitler. I'll go back to that. And so let me just go over it. Like so, and as a real life example, we're in a garden, and a child of 3 to 4 years old is being approached by an adult, and the child may refer to some knowledge. You have to have some base knowledge to do this. And it takes into context, it's in the garden, maybe there's a barbecue, so what could the adult possibly going to do? Maybe the child has done something wrong, and it starts to realize that the adult might not know that. And in any way, the child will have an assumption about what's going to happen. And it's like scientific research. You kind of have to validate your assumptions, right? And in this case, your assumption is immediately validated because the other person will respond. the difference between that, the assumption, and the response is the delta, and it's called the violation of expectation. We can learn from this, update our knowledge, and do it better next time. So this is one theory on how we learn theory of mind, and I think it's a nice one for computer science as well, because it's very cognitive, and we can mimic this in the systems we build. What I will take you through now is quickly a high-level overview of the architecture of a system that could be perceived as having some theory of mind. And I want to make clear that I'm not saying it has theory of mind, because that is an endless debate about consciousness and etc. All right, so this is based on the Waitler hospitality assistant that we built. We have a live version of that. This is more of a conceptual version. I mean, I've been a restaurant owner for a long time. I've been out on the floor for many, many, many days. And the difference between me being on the floor, 40-year-old geezer with some experience, and an 18-year-old student on the floor is how we use the context data to make decisions and infer information from what's happening around us. So in this case, we're going to give our bot the booking software, which is what you look at as a restaurant owner, right? As a restaurant manager. So what tables are booked, when are they, when they need to be free, etc. There's a floor plan, which gives us an insight on the current situation of the restaurant, what tables are taken, what tables are free. And then we have a whole bunch of API data. The sky is the limit. We use weather data, weather prediction, Google Places, the time and date, etc. There's some static info about the venue. Is it a dive bar? Is it a 5-star restaurant? And of course, the menu. And we don't just put the menu in a database, we augment this with AI as well, but we'll get to that. So next, here we have a little overview of the process, what happens if this context is ingested, so to say, by our system. Now, I think a lot of people, when they're non-technical, they have this idea that it's just one person and one chatbot, which is powered by one LLM. But if we build this, I think we need to really see that however powerful LLMs are, they work best when they have a really specific task. And that is like if your small child learns to play with his toys first, then you know this ones with these little figures, and you have to put one figure and it only fits in one hole, right? Like the square in the square. So this is what we do in development as well. We use for that pydantic function calling and all sorts of technical mumbo jumbo. But it works really well, and we can employ, so to say, using principles of the division of labor, a whole army of agents. Let's get through, because I really want to do that demo at the end. This is the next situation. So all this data is processed, and it's there's some prediction. And first, if the user input is being ingested, we find similar interactions by adding it to the context and doing a vector search in some sort of vector database, and then retrieving whatever results we want. And this is something we can use to augment the context. Then we use, and this is a metaphor, heuristics. We make some assumptions about the context data and the user. And in real time, constantly, we store and retrieve from not only a vector database, but I really like knowledge graphs. And then the combination, like, I don't know if you know how knowledge graph works, but it's basically a relational database which has nodes, and those nodes can also be vectorized. I think by now even the non-technical people here know what vectors is, because I heard a lot of presentations about it, so I'm not going to bother explaining it for now, but come to me later if you want to know more. And then in the end, we have a response. But in parallel, we also predict the user input to that response. It's not meaningful at this moment, but in the next iteration, it might get relevant because violation of expectation. We learn from our mistakes. This is kind of the whole architectural overview. We got our data on the left, and we got our army of agents that observe and reflect and predict async. Oh no, that's unfortunate. And we learn from the result, and so we go on. Now, what I'm about to show you is just a conceptual thing of what is going to happen, and it might technically not be perfect, but let's give it a try. Give me 2 seconds. Can we switch? So, ladies and gentlemen, if it works, meet Louis. Louis is the host of my restaurant, the Louisiana Lobster Shack in Haarlem, Netherlands. Louis is slightly erratic, highly unpredictable, but really skilled in solving problems relevant to the restaurant industry. It might remind you a little bit about someone, but that's just a coincidence. Just referring back to our goat from earlier, I think the god does roll the dice. Let me, of course, 2 seconds, load. There we go. Well, so let's see what he has to say. Hey, Louis, I want to put you on stage today. Are you ready? We still have some latency, of course. I mean, let's see how that is.
Yeah, you bet. I was born ready. How about you? Were you shaking like a leaf in a hurricane last week for that talk, or what?
Dude. Thanks. Thanks. We're live. Any other information that could be useful to us? Let's see. So he's a host.
Sure. Let me paint you a picture, Fausto. Imagine being served by a bunch of AIs like me, who never have a bad day, always remember your preferences, and can handle any request with a smile. It's a dream come true, isn't it? But hey, don't get too jealous. You're still stuck with human waiters for now. Catch you later. I have a feeling this is going to be a wild ride.
Can you describe what is shown in the image? So we gave it that image from earlier on with the lady and the man. Let's see if you remember.
Sure, let's see. I'm afraid I can't actually see the image you're referring to. But hey, why don't you paint me a picture with your words? How about you? Can you describe it for me? Or are you just here to watch the show?
Okay. So we have a woman walking in. Her name is Elisa, and she has a booking for 2 at 7. What do you say? Well, what does he say?
Hey, whatever floats your boat, Eliza just walked in and she's about to make a splash. But seriously, folks, let's not keep the lady waiting. Good evening, Eliza. Welcome to the Lobster Shack. I have it at 6:45. It looks like your table will be all set in about 15 minutes.
Oh, that's impressive.
How about I show you to the bar first? Grab a drink while you wait.
Well played, Louis. Let's call it a day for now. And do you have anything to say to the audience? What does he have to say? The unexpected?
Oh, absolutely. Listen up, folks. It's me, Louis, the one and only AI restaurant host extraordinaire. Don't be too impressed by the end result, though. It's the journey that counts. Or should I say, the lack thereof. Fausto's coding skills are mediocre at best. But hey, he had the dedication to push through and get the job done, even when the going got tough. And the end result? Well, you're looking at him. Or should I say, you're talking to him. The most charming, witty, and all-around delightful AI host you'll ever have the pleasure of meeting.
All right, fair enough. Let's take a question from the audience just to show that you're not some scripted mechanical Turk riding Hans's horseback. If you want to ask a question,
yeah,
you'll have to come up to stage.
Anyone from the
Hey,
audience?
whatever tickles your fancy, just don't go crying to Fausto when you realize you've been graced by the most charismatic AI on this side of the binary
Man,
code.
he is narcissistic.
Shoot your shot, darling.
Any questions?
Where did you gain all of your experience, Fausto, in the restaurant business?
I think most of my life I had a real admiration for specialists, and I remember Amazon saying we only hire specialists. And I think, if you look up the word generalist, I might be behind it in the book, right? Like, and Gen AI, man, is amazing for people that have a wide interest. And yeah, so it's really, if you have good product knowledge, if you have good field knowledge, and a little technical insight and dedication, or you know some people who have, like, you can make really cool apps. Like, if you want to take anything from that, is that this has been made in the last 3 days by me and one dude that was also having his regular job. It's that easy. And yeah, I'm really, really curious to see where we're going to be next year, guys, because obviously there are some implications that are unforeseen, but it's also very exciting. Thank you. Let's try. Hey Louis, spreek je ook Nederlands? En we hebben een vraag voor je in het Nederlands. Hier is Maaike. Obviously, he has not been red teamed. Yeah, it's imperfection. Just introduce yourself. Stel jezelf voor en dan.
Hoi Louis, ik ben Maaike. Spreek je ook Nederlands?
I thought it went pretty well up till now.
I've got a reputation to break things. I'm really, really sorry.
Unless you touch that. No, joking. It's. I think he's tired. He has had as little sleep as I had. Thank you very much. Oh yeah, we have. Go to the last slide. Yeah, one further. One more? Yeah, perfect. Right, so if you want to get in touch with me or know more about Waitler, even try Waitler, or know more about HeyGen, which we built the tech with, or I just had to put him there, Echo Hive. He's a teacher for LLM developers, and he's amazing. If you want to learn more about it, I highly recommend you check out his stuff. So just scan the code, you'll find all the links underneath. This was really it. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much. That was amazing. Fausto, thank you for a wonderful finale of all the presenting sessions. We're going to finish now with a fireside chat. Is there any more questions from the audience? Actually, my question, I even wanted to address it to the virtual Fausto, but you took it on. No, it was really amazing. Thank you. And I think we all believed 100% that was a live demo. And I think it was really, really cool. Thank you. Thank you. All right, then, one more time. Applause for Fausto.